The year is 2085. Constantine is preoccupied with making money, while his friend Kolya invents a device that can transfer consciousness from one body to another and calls it the translocator. The friends decide to test it on a homeless person and a stray dog. Unfortunately, the experiment fails. Kolya then suggests starting a company to produce cheap robots. If that doesn't work out, he plans to buy a plot on Mars and build a farm there. 15 years later, Kolya enjoys family life on Mars and manages a robotic farm, documenting his activities and reports. He also breeds copters, which greatly annoys his wife Nadia as he spends a significant amount of money on his hobbies. The couple has 2 daughters, Marina and Luda, with the younger one helping her father create weather cyber installations in the form of Russian birches. In his free time, Kolya visits a dump regularly replenished with waste from Earth, where he once finds an old but working robot. Meanwhile, the CEO of the Ijevsk Dynamics Corporation, Konstantin, announces to investors the construction of a new factory on Mars to mine a very rare substance, inaccessium. He then delegates the work to his deputy, Pavel. It turns out that the owner of the land where the substance is located refuses to sell his farm. Konstantin is surprised to find out that the owner is his childhood friend Kolya. On Mars, Luda finds the translocator in the barn, but Kolya is busy reprogramming the new robot, which once activated, starts searching for a floor mop. At this moment, spaceships land on the farm and a delegation led by Konstantin disembarks, with Konstantin rushing to embrace his old friend. He is amazed by the number of goats and the vegetables Kolya has grown. He then offers to forget about the takeover of their joint company in exchange for a huge sum of money which Kolya can use to settle anywhere. This offer earns him a punch in the face. Pavel then reads out a decree declaring the corporation as the owner of Mars. The farm demolition begins, and Konstantin's men lock Kolya's family in the space yacht's hangar. However, Kolya notices the robot's absence. The farmer neutralizes the guards and escapes from the yacht, while Pavel loses his job for reminding Konstantin that evicting people from their homes is illegal. Konstantin goes to wash up, but the robot finds his jacket and uses it to clean the floor. Konstantin chases it, but at that moment, the workers demolish the power generators, and Kolya, rushing into the barn, pushes his former friend, who lands in the translocator chair. When everything settles, Kolya tries to activate the robot, but it suddenly starts speaking in Konstantin's voice. Kolya rejoices that the translocator works, while the robot, now Konstantin, demands to be returned to his body. Meanwhile, Konstantin's body begins to behave inappropriately. Pavel orders the injured boss to be taken away, dismissing the annoying robot. Kolya rushes after the departing spaceship. That night, Kolya repairs his vehicle to reach the station, fly to Earth, retrieve his family, and return Kostya to the corporation. Meanwhile, Pavel returns home, where his wife and children greet him. He admits he was fired. Galina is horrified. Their family is drowning in subscriptions for the apartment, the car, and the new renovation. And tomorrow the fridge subscription ends. Maybe they should ask Konstantin for leniency. Meanwhile, on Mars, Kostya admits that the train they are rushing to catch is the last one because no one should know about the new factory's construction. The couple manages to free the car from the sand, but it refuses to start. Kolya then makes Kostya apologize to the offended car. After this, the car races to the station. Meanwhile, Pavel arrives at the office and sees damaged robots, scattered belongings, and an incoherent boss. The doctor diagnoses that Konstantin's mental development level is equivalent to a 1-year-old child. Kolya's car is stopped by an old woman asking for a ride to the station. She sold her plot to Konstantin's company and got a ticket to Earth in return. Soon the group reaches the station. Kolya bids farewell to the car, and they board the interorbital elevator. But there are no tickets left for the train to Earth. Kolya tries to negotiate with the conductor, while Kostya spots the old woman's ticket. On Earth, Galina advises her husband to become the corporation's head himself and turn the boss into a decent person. Pavel then pauses her. She is just a hologram, like the children she made him subscribe to. Expressing all his grievances, Pavel turns Galina back on, but she continues to pressure him. Meanwhile, Kostya brings Kolya a ticket, and the pair board the train. But then Kolya sees the old woman unable to find her ticket and realizes where the robot got it. Kolya makes Kostya return the ticket and put the old woman on the train. He literally throws her into the departing car when another old woman on the platform addresses them. It turns out Kostya put the wrong woman on the train. Kolya sends the robot to catch up with the train and remove the old woman while he helps the actual traveler. But the old woman activates a jet engine on her shopping cart and catches up with the train herself. The train departs. Kostya scolds Kolya for his softness, so Kolya switches him to vacuum cleaner mode. Kostya starts cleaning the platform, threatening his friend with dire consequences when he returns to his body. He finds a Cosmo post ticket. Kolya has an epiphany, and they head to the post office. Meanwhile, Pavel prepares to sleep in Konstantin's quarters. Kolya and Kostya set off for Earth in a mail crate, but a sorting error sends the package to Plutonsk. Kolya's family returns to Mars in a hacked rescue capsule by Luda and immediately sees their car driving by. Meanwhile, Kolya and Kostya, having emerged from the mail crate, notice that everyone around is wearing respirators. Realizing they are in Plutonsk, Kolya can't hold back some strong language. It's the filthiest place in the Galaxy, where they dislike robots and Konstantin. Kostya searches for a phone to call a shuttle, while Kolya writes a letter to his family and sends it with a postal drone. Meanwhile, Pavel feeds the boss porridge while watching news about Izhevsk Dynamics, stock plummeting, and the corporation's fate being decided when its owner presents a new factory plan. Pavel holds his head in despair, but Galina reassures him they can buy a copy of Konstantin on the black market. However, they first need to rewrite her code. Galina gains full autonomy, but still can't execute the plan as the owner's likeness is protected. The woman then suggests Pavel present the plan himself. But Konstantin must sign the authorization with a blue seal, which is in his office, accessible only by scanning the owner's eye. Pavel takes Konstantin to the office. Employees watch as the boss acts like a child, playing in the middle of the room. The eye scan also proves challenging, but eventually Pavel and Konstantin get into the office where the deputy retrieves the seal, signs the authorization, and asks the secretary to send it to all shareholders. Meanwhile, Kolya and Kostya find a workers' canteen, hoping there's a phone. Entering, they encounter a hostile group of miners, as Konstantin had fired them and replaced them with metalheads. The men drag the robot outside, but their leader, Makar, stops them. On Earth, the company's main investor calls Konstantin's office. Pavel panics, but Galina steps out of sight and starts playing with the baby, making him perform the desired actions. Pavel announces he'll be giving the presentation. Everything goes smoothly until the end, when Konstantin starts poking Pavel's face, and Pavel, losing his temper, threatens to spank the troublemaker. Surprised by this informal communication style, the investor disconnects. Pavel leaves, seating Konstantin to watch cartoons. It turns out Makar recognizes Kolya as a renowned master. Kostya is trying to call the corporation, while Konstantin, tired of cartoons, switches to lullabies and starts napping. Meanwhile, Makar shows Kolya his collection of mini-items he shrank with his self-invented quantum miniaturizer. On Earth, the secretary enters Konstantin's office and finds him naked. Screaming in shock, she watches as the boss runs out the door. Pavel is making a report when a naked Konstantin enters the meeting room. Kostya sees this on TV and is horrified. His reputation is ruined. Makar overhears this and realizes who he has in his hands. He plans to summon the others when the robot uses the miniaturizer. Kolya struggles to find the shrunken Makar and apologizes, but then Makar's wife enters, sees her tiny husband, and runs for help. Meanwhile, Pavel confesses to shareholders about Konstantin's mind reset. They officially task him with building the Mars factory. At Plutonsk, enraged miners break into Makar's apartment. Bursting in, they see the miniaturized Makar pointing to a tiny airplane where Kolya and Kostya are. The tiny Kostya and Kolya take off, but the miners shut the window. One of the workers grabs the plane, but the robot turns the engine to full power, burning the holder's face, who drops the plane. It aims for the doorway, but can only exit through the bottom. Ignoring Kostya's warning, Kolya raises his head and sees a tear in the miner's pants above him before the plane bursts outside. Back at Kolya's farm, construction begins, and Nadia warns that they have an endangered pet. An enormous worm, Luda's pet, appears. The workers flee, and a copter arrives with a letter from Kolya explaining he went to Earth to help Kostya. The family remembers that the father is unaware of their escape. Pavel receives a report about the giant worm on the farm, but can't solve the issue. On Plutonsk, the miniaturization ends, and Kolya and Kostya return to their normal size, finally finding a space phone. Kostya rushes to call, while Kolya sees news about miniaturized miners who now have enough resources. Meanwhile, a call comes into the corporation from someone claiming to be Konstantin, demanding to be connected to the secretary. Hearing this, Pavel panics, and Galina advises him to get rid of the robot. At that moment, the robot catches a drone with a response letter from Nadia. He realizes Kolya will not go to Earth if he learns his family is on Mars and hides the copter. Kolya heads for tickets, discovering that robots travel in the cargo car. Conductor Anya decides to make the robot a conductor, instructs him, and goes on a date with the train chief. While Kostya starts his duties, Kolya meets his fellow passenger, Vasily. Meanwhile, on the farm, Nadia tries to make the robots work. They don't respond to her yelling, so Luda takes her to the barn, showing her the father's instructional video, where he asks her to treat the robots respectfully. Kostya starts work, but behaves rudely, claiming it's tradition. Vasily invites Kolya to play cards. The farmer agrees, not suspecting his neighbor is a swindler. Meanwhile, on the farm, Nadia cuts off the robot's power, believing those who don't work shouldn't eat. On the train, one passenger complains about the cold, and an enraged Kostya throws several fuel briquettes into the stove. Meanwhile, the train chief breaks up with Anya. Kostya finds the woman in tears and comforts her. He then goes to Kolya and asks him to tell Anya who he really is, but Kolya insists that a robot cannot love because it has no heart. Vasily overhears this conversation and wins the robot in a bet Kolya made to recover the translocator. At that moment, the stove explodes and a piece of debris hits the photon rails. If not removed, the train will derail and be annihilated. The train chief suggests Anya handle the repairs. Kostya hears this and goes into open space himself, where he is hit by a meteorite. However, the robot manages to hold onto the car and reach the site of the accident. He finds the damage and removes the obstruction, but he himself is thrown into open space. Kostya sees the void before him and slowly begins to freeze, saying goodbye to life. Suddenly, Anya's face appears before him. The woman in a spacesuit has come out to save him. Meanwhile, on Mars, the robots are about to leave the farm when they hear Nadia's screams. They find her on the table, scared of a mouse running below. Nadia begins to cry and pity herself for being left without her husband. Then she asks for forgiveness, and the robots, unable to bear it, go back to work. On Earth, Pavel goes to the roof in the evening. There, the secretary Vera unexpectedly admits that she is very afraid of Konstantin, but she could never harm him because she would then be no different from him. On the train, passengers greet the hero and his savior. Vasily grabs Kostya, intending to take him away, while Kolya pulls him back. During the commotion, cards fall from the swindler's sleeve, changing suits. Amidst the confusion, the man detaches the robot's head and runs off with it. Kolya tries to chase the thief, and although Kostya tries to help by naming the places Vasily runs past, the man loses the trail. On Mars, water stops flowing from the faucet in Kolya's house. Nadia heads to the construction site and sees a broken pipe. However, the foreman ignores her demands to fix the damage, especially since the worm has crawled away. Luda then shows her a secret entrance to her father's lab. In Saturnsk, a boy passing by Vasily's stall notices the talking robot head and buys it, as he has a robot dog's body. Kostya's head, now on the dog's body, tries to leave, but the boy puts him on an electronic leash. Meanwhile, Kolya goes to the police, and to his surprise, the officers immediately start searching for the missing item. On Mars, Luda takes her mother and sister to the lab, where they hide their inventions. Among the vials, the girl shows a solution that induces a desire to work. Later, the builders, tired of dehydrated food, see the girls refusing to eat their mother's pies, grab them, and eat them. In Saturnsk, the boy takes Kostya to dogfights, where an electronic executioner dog is pitted against him. The boy watches as his new friend is destroyed by the vicious dog and, unable to bear it, rescues his dog. The pair have to flee. On Mars, the builders, driven by a strong desire to work, quickly repair the water pipes and demand more work. In Saturnsk, Kolya and the police find Vasily. He insists he hasn't seen any robot head. The police can't insult him with distrust and detain the farmer. On Mars, the workers follow Nadia everywhere, demanding work. In Saturnsk, after freeing himself, Kolya continues to search for Kostya's head and arrives at a control room from where he can broadcast a hologram announcing the loss. Kolya's request to return the robot's head echoes over the market. Unaware that the microphone is still on, Kolya laments the loss of his only friend. The boy hears his words and leads Kostya to the control room. At the same time, Kolya notices the robot's fingers twitching, indicating the head is nearby. He hurries to meet them. However, the boy is confronted by a group angry about the disrupted fight. Taking advantage of the commotion, Kostya escapes, but suddenly guilt plagues him and he returns. The group grabs the robot, preparing to throw him into space when Kolya finds them, but is too late to save his friend. The robot disappears into the abyss, but suddenly rises on the wing of a spaceship. Meanwhile, Nadia, exhausted from the overly hardworking builders, prepares new pies with a solution that makes a person indifferent to everything. In Saturnsk, Kostya falls onto Pavel's starship. The delighted robot orders the assistant to cover all the boy's expenses and buy him everything he needs. The boy tearfully bids farewell to his new friend. Later, Pavel eagerly examines the translocator, and Kostya asks him to bring whiskey. Pavel leaves but returns, demanding a share of the corporation since he practically managed it all this time. Kostya laughs. Pavel orders the robot to be dumped at the nearest junkyard. Kolya and Kostya escape on a space shuttle, unaware they were just speaking to Galina disguised as Pavel. Meanwhile, on Mars, Luda sees an immobile robot and, feeling sorry for him, cleans and reprograms him. Kolya and Kostya's shuttle lands on the planet Serersk. A teenager, Dimon, informs them there's no spaceport. The planet has been under sanctions for 100 years, and Dimon proudly shows them the rocket everyone fears. The pair head to the market. When the robot's system malfunctions, Kolya realizes that if it shuts down, Kostya's consciousness will be erased. They urgently need a battery. On Mars, Luda orders the robot not to tell anyone he's more than a construction worker. As a farewell, the machine takes a book on massage. Kolya searches for an electronic store in vain, as Serersk takes pride in living traditionally. At the market, the planet's mayor orders his assistant to get a battery while showing the guest around, praising the planet's stability and clean energy TV. Theaters work in summary mode, but the battery will be ready only in 3 years, with the first model just launched into production. On Mars, the foreman finds the robot with a book and realizes it's been reprogrammed. He tries to contact the authorities, but the robot grabs him and gives him a massage, making him forget his complaint. In Serersk, Kostya goes to church, fearing death and wanting to confess his sins. He notices the priest's pacemaker runs on a battery. Kolya arrives to find Kostya trying to take the battery from the priest. He pulls the robot away, which then shuts down. Dimon helps take Kostya to the rocket, where Kolya connects him to its battery, which powers only the lights. Dimon is shocked, having believed the rocket was formidable. Kolya decides to open the planet's inhabitants' eyes. They tie the rocket to a cart, and while the mayor talks about their happy life, the machine falls apart. The shocked citizens realize they've been deceived. Meanwhile, the reprogrammed robot brings colleagues to Lyudmila, and she gets to work. The grateful residents of Serersk help Kolya repair the shuttle and send the pair into space. But the robot starts losing memory and can't recall Earth's coordinates. They have to land on Earth. Pavel informs Galya he will cancel her subscription. On Earth, Kolya and Kostya find their old garage, but the robot doesn't remember the lock code. They go to his mother, who immediately recognizes her son in the robot, having been a school principal for 30 years. Pavel learns that Galya, in his name, organized an event for a children's home fund, which gained investors' approval. On Earth, the mother scolds Kostya for forgetting her. The garage was used by a now-deceased grandmother. The pair head to the cemetery with new cyber memorials that read the deceased's memories and display holograms of their best moments. The grandmother recounts Kostya's childhood. Pavel is thanked by children and sees Galya triumphant. The grandmother reaches a seaside trip, and Vanya remembers the code as a date. They finally enter the garage where their photos are stored. As the robot's memory fails, a former vagrant arrives. After the failed experiment, he bought their shares and is now wealthy. He helps find a memory block for Kostya. Vera finds Pavel on the roof, who admits his holographic wife organized everything. Hearing about his divorce, she kisses him. Meanwhile, Kostya reviews his memories, reliving bitter moments when his mother didn't acknowledge his achievements. Despite this, he goes to say goodbye and sees all his awards and drawings on the wall, realizing his mother loved and was proud of him. Kostya repairs her fallen greenhouse. She thanks Kolya but then hugs the robot, apologizing. The shuttle reaches the orbital checkpoint. Kolya sees Kostya destroying a Mars copter, realizing the robot intercepted Nadia's letters to keep Kolya unaware his family had returned. Enraged, Kolya leaves the robot at the checkpoint. Pavel goes hunting, organized by an investor. Galya advises him to please the employers for the appointment. Vera is also there, catching the investor's attention. Kostya confesses to the police about smuggling. The pair is detained. Kolya learns that uncertified parts in the robot will get him deported. He declares the robot fully contraband. Hunters start shooting gray drones. Pavel impresses the investor with his marksmanship. Galya advises him to lose on purpose for the appointment. Kostya is sent to the robot pen. On the hunt, Pavel misses deliberately. Vera tries to comfort him, but he insults her out of jealousy. She grabs a rifle, and during the struggle, the boss is shot in the butt. Kolya boards a shuttle to Earth, reading Nadia's last letter, where she admits his letters made her realize her love for him. Kostya starts a riot, supported by other robots demanding their right to life. Meanwhile, the boss speaks disparagingly of Vera to Pavel, only to have tea thrown in his face. At the checkpoint, a real robot uprising begins. However, they all leave, having lost Kostya, who is saved by Kolya's return. On the hunt, Pavel's action surprisingly earns praise from the investor. However, in the last photo, Galia is asked to step aside, so only people are in the picture. Meanwhile, Kolya and Kostya manage to catch the last ride to Earth. Vera thanks Pavel for defending her, and he kisses her in front of Galina. Kolya and Kostya arrive at Konstantin's residence. They attach the robot's head to a copter, and he becomes furious seeing Pavel sitting at his desk. At that moment, news breaks about Pavel's appointment as the new head of Izhevsk Dynamics. The robot enters the building through a ventilation shaft, lets Kolya in, and sees his human body. It's a touching reunion, but they need to find the translocator. Kostya shows Kolya a secret room from which he monitors office workers, and they find the room where the device is stored. On Mars, the house loses power. Luda discovers that the builders have damaged the birch transmitters. The foreman refuses to stop construction. Luda decides to punish the rude man. First, she activates the natural irrigation system above him. Then she replaces his shampoo with rapid vegetable growth drops, causing him to become instantly hairy. Kolya and Kostya plan to infiltrate the Izhevsk Dynamics office using Konstantin's human body. They reach the office and enter the lobby, but during a dispute, they lose sight of Konstantin, who is distracted by balloons. The pair split up. The robot searches for his human body, while Kolya goes after the translocator. Pavel receives congratulations and takes over the CEO's office. Galina arrives to congratulate her husband and demonstrates her ability to change her appearance to look like Vera. Kolya endures praises of Kostya's genius, who claimed his friend's discoveries, while the robot hunts for his body. Pavel comforts Galina, who cries because she cannot touch her beloved since she is a hologram. He proposes an extraordinary solution, transferring her mind into Vera's body. Pavel is horrified, but at that moment, the secretary enters, and Galina immediately starts asking her personal questions. The girl leaves in confusion. On Mars, the foreman enters the toilet and exits miles away because Luda activated her father's portals. Then she uses a voice-changing device to speak to the man in his assistant's voice, suggesting he go on vacation. But he notices Luda, and she has to flee. Kolya manages to steal the translocator, but when Konstantin's hologram starts boasting about his inventions, Kolya can't resist giving a revealing speech. The robot hears investors rejoicing about getting rid of him and grabs the chief by the throat. The corporation guide notices the translocator under Kolya's coat and calls security. The investor does the same. Simultaneously, Vera leaves a resignation letter for Pavel, not wanting to be the third wheel in his relationship. On Mars, the house shakes, and the women run outside to see a bulldozer with the foreman at the wheel heading for the farm. On Earth, Pavel prepares to destroy the ring that controls Galina when the robot reaches the roof and sees his body on the edge. News spreads about a man on the roof seemingly about to end his life. The robot tries to stop his body, while Kolya uses vending machines with reverse modes to drive off the guards. Konstantin falls, but the robot catches him by the hand. Kolya rushes to the roof and saves Konstantin. He seats the robot and his body in the shuttle and heads for Mars. Galina appears before Pavel and reminds him of all his actions that could be considered crimes. On Mars, all the reprogrammed construction robots stand to defend the farm. On Earth, news breaks about the Izhevsk Dynamics head being kidnapped by a Mars farmer, and a pursuit is launched. Pavel receives his appointment and gives a thank you speech, then flees the hall. On Mars, Nadia packs her things, tired of fighting the corporation. Just then, a shuttle lands and Kolya disembarks. The family joyfully greets him, but is outraged upon seeing Konstantin. Pavel invites Vera to fly with him. On Mars, Kolya asks to restore the barn to its state during the first transference attempt. However, the device doesn't work. Kolya runs to the birches and finds that all the inaccessium, the rare substance that prompted the farm's demolition, has been extracted from under them. The foreman refuses to help, citing Luda's troubles. Robots step in again, giving him a full-body massage, after which he waters the birches with the substance. The transference process begins, but special forces land on Mars. In the barn, the process halts because Kolya finds the translocator lacks a capacitor. Pavel arrives with Vera, stopping the barn assault. It turns out he removed the capacitor to thwart Galina's plan and now brings it back. Kolya starts the process, but Vera interrupts. Galina had visited Vera, revealing compromising material on Pavel and proposing a plan to save him. Galina reappears, urging them not to restore the bully and traitor Baragazin. Kolya decides to restore his former friend. He activates the translocator, Vera activates the ring, and Galina's consciousness ends up inside Konstantin. Robot Kostya screams in horror. Later, Konstantin, now housing Galina's mind, gives a speech to the board while Kolya is arrested and the robot is sent to the scrapyard. But the conductor Anya notices the metal man. Konstantin promises life changes, heard by all Galaxy residents, presenting his invention, the translocator. On Mars, Kolya's hologram informs his family of his rescue plan. The series ends here.